Good evening to Aaron and to all who have joined us here recently. So excited to have you on tonight. So excited to talk about the online MBA program at the University of Louisville, along with answering any questions that you have about the program. And we're going to jump right into it here. I'll start with some quick introductions, and then we'll go ahead and share a few slides and ask a few questions that I know everybody probably has on their mind, and then certainly see what other ones we can answer for you tonight about this program. First and foremost, my name is Dr. Zac Goldman. I will be your host tonight, along with my colleague Safoni Bazile. We are members of the College of Business, and we're very much excited to talk to you tonight and share a few moments with you as we go through this online MBA program at U of L and really what it is, what it includes, what to expect, answering as many of your questions tonight as we possibly can. I'm the director of the online MBA program, along with the director of online teaching and learning in the College of Business. And Safoni is one of our very best team members as an online student support coordinator and community coordinator. And so we're very thankful to have her, along with Brandy Chamberlain and so many of our other team members here who have helped set this event up tonight. Thank you to each and every one of you who've contributed to that. I also want to acknowledge and welcome all of our guests, whether you are a student who's already been admitted into the program. I know we typically get a few of those on these sessions, just trying to learn a little bit more about what to expect, or whether you're on the fence, whether you're considering the program, wherever you may be in terms of your status and in terms of where you are in the world. We welcome you tonight to the online MBA program and the information session. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go ahead and get started with a few fundamentals, and then we'll have certainly time for your questions tonight. So again, thank you for joining us. This is, of course, an information session, but I also think about it as a session of getting to know each other, not just in terms of me and you, those of us on this call, but getting to know the program and what to expect, having a chance to ask questions that may not be readily available either on the website or in some of your researching of the program. We're here tonight for you, each and every one of you who've taken the time to join us. And so one of the things that I'll be doing tonight is asking a couple of questions. And that is really designed so that I can help tailor tonight's time to be most beneficial for each and every one of you. I could certainly talk for well more than an hour. That's my calling card as a professor. We can fill time like nobody's business. But rather than just talking into my computer screen in my basement, I would rather make sure that we use the time, of course, to answer the questions that you have, along with giving you some additional kind of behind the scenes information of how the program works and what to expect going into it. So the first thing I would like to do is ask you a question. I know this information session, you may be thinking, well, it's a chance to get your questions answered, and that is true. But I have two very quick questions to get us started tonight. And I'd encourage you, and I ask you, if you are able, please join me in the chat. So you don't have to unmute, you don't have to turn your videos on, but I'd like you to briefly answer this question here that you see on the screen at this point. If you can't see a screen, if you're driving or something like that, we certainly understand. But the question is, why are you interested in an MBA degree? Okay, so I'll repeat it. Why are you interested in an MBA? And that's a very open-ended question by design, and I'm not going to elaborate on it right now, but I would like to hear your responses to it. I'd like to know your own answer to it. And everybody has a different answer to this question, at least some nuanced layers of answers to this question. And I would love to hear, at least from a few of you tonight, and encourage all of you, if you're willing to, join me in the chat and share just a few thoughts. It doesn't even have to be complete sentences, just a few thoughts that you have in terms of why you are interested in an MBA degree. And I promise you, this will be relevant for our conversation tonight. But if you will entertain me, or at least take a few moments to answer that question, I'll address those responses here in just a short moment. So let's give you about 60 seconds. If you need more, let us know. But encourage you to find that chat feature that is available within Teams and type in a few thoughts that you have as to why you are interested in an MBA degree. So Safoni, my trusted colleague here, will help me. I don't actually get to see the chats, at least right now while I'm sharing my screen. I'm a little limited in what I can see. So Safoni, as any and all responses come in, would love to hear a little bit about what some of the answers may be in terms of why these participants tonight, while those who took the time to join us, are interested in an MBA.
I'm seeing two responses so far. We have, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Haritha says they're mother of a 7-year-old. It's been 10 years since they stopped working and she wants a new start and is interested in getting into management. She has a bachelor's degree in computer science engineering. Ooh.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that comment and sharing it. And what I would tell you is keep an eye on our website here the next few days. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's an article coming out on the main page of our webpage on online MBA moms. An article that I'm very proud of. A dear colleague of mine wrote it, and many people that I know participated in it. So check that out. It'll be, I don't think it's quite available yet, but it should be coming here very soon. A lot of mothers and a lot of parents in general attracted to this program because of the flexibility. We're going to talk about that tonight. So thank you for sharing that, for opening up there. That's funny. You said there was another one as well.
Yeah, Aaron Duvall. So it says he's an accounting undergrad major and has a strong understanding of the finance accounting side of business, but as he advances to higher roles and is not working outside of traditional accounting, he would like a stronger understanding of the overall business environment.
Yeah,
They're
that's
5 years
another
post undergrad.
5 years removed. It's a good distance removed from the undergrad. I say good. There's really not a bad distance removed from undergrad for the MBA program. We get quite a few ranges as you might expect, but certainly that draw to have that additional exposure, beyond just one particular area. In this case, accounting or finance. Some folks are trained in marketing and know marketing well, but don't have accounting or finance, vice versa. Certainly, the MBA program will expose you to a lot of those areas, but also really not just expose, but drive you a little deeper into the understanding. Not to say that you'll become a marketing or a finance or accounting experts through this program, but you will become a business expert. That's the idea, right? A master's of business association opens up doors. It allows you to have those conversations, allows you to work with those departments and members of those departments at a very high level to achieve success. And so certainly appreciate you sharing that as well. Was that all, Symphony, that we're in the chat for now? All right. Well, let me ask one additional question. And to be quite honest, this one I think will help shape the rest of our time together. So if you didn't get a chance to participate in this last question, please do so in the second. And if you did participate, please do so again, because I want to make sure we're getting the most out of your time tonight. And that question is, what would you like to learn more about regarding U of L's online MBA program? What would you like to learn more about regarding U of L's online MBA program? And just be forewarned, I've got about 18 slides after this that covers pretty much the entirety of the program. So don't think you're going to be shorted or you're not going to get information about other stuff. But I want to know where to spend the most of our time on tonight. I want to know where the questions are. I want to know how I can make the most out of your time tonight and how you can make the most out of mine so that we are truly maximizing what this session's intended to do, which is to give you real-time answers, real-time feedback, real-time information about our program. And so take a moment, if you will. And again, all comments are welcome. All questions are welcome. Any areas that you would like more information, it can just be a few short words. Please do find the chat feature in our Microsoft Teams here and type in any questions or areas that you would like to know more about regarding U of L's online MBA program. And again, we'll give you another minute or so to find and locate that and type in any thoughts you have.
We have a couple of responses. So,
Fire away, Symphony. What are we getting?
Aretha said she lives in Texas. Is she eligible to apply?
Great
I
question.
saw
Not
that and I
only
just wanted to answer right off the bat.
Yes, not only are you eligible, you'd be joining several Texans who are in the great state of Texas. I've got a few friends down there myself, and they are a part of the program, enrolled in the program, and so yes, I would not see any reason why you cannot. And if there were any personal circumstances that may prevent you, we can certainly talk about that after the call. But in general, your residency would not preclude you from enrolling in our program. Great question.
We have a student who is currently in Japan. They applied to the program while they were in Japan,
Sure.
and they're in it right now. So
Yeah.
you being in Texas is no problem.
My goal is to get students in all 50 states. I'll show you a map here momentarily. I'm actually getting pretty close to that goal. I think we're in the 40s at this point, and so need to get up into that upper East Coast, Maine. I tell you, it's hard to crack into the state of Maine right now, I guess. But there's a few other states. But Texas, we certainly have quite a few students in Texas, and part of being in this program, we'd certainly be happy to introduce you and extend your network throughout not just your state locally, but certainly throughout the Louisville community. We'll talk more about that momentarily. Any other questions, Safoni, that we have there in the chat, or any other areas that are listed before we get into kind of the nuts and bolts of the program?
Yeah, Aaron was asked, wants to know about what the structure of the program looks like. He said he feels like he has a pretty good idea,
Yeah.
and has already been admitted to the program, but wants to learn more.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations on being admitted. It's very exciting, and I hope you took a moment to recognize and celebrate that accomplishment in and of itself, because it is certainly a lot of hard work ahead, but an accomplishment nonetheless to take time and reflect. And yes, we're going to get all into the structure and how it works and what it looks like. And so, thank you for asking that question. It's a great one. It's funny. I think, did you raise a hand? I saw. I can see the
I
hand
did not
raising
mean to.
feature.
No, I didn't
All
mean to
right.
do that.
All right. Well, it's an open forum. You're welcome to continue posting things in there, especially questions that you would like answered tonight or any pieces of information that you would like to see elaborated on. Please be sure to use that. We're also going to have a chance to unmute. Just introduce yourself if you wish or weigh in. We'll do that near the end of tonight's call. But again, thanks for joining us. Let's jump into some of the nuts and bolts of the program. And for the next few minutes, at least, I'll share with you kind of the overview of sorts, but I'll also give you more than what you'll find on the website. I'll give you more than what you'll see necessarily in an ad or a commercial or something like that, because it's really more so a walkthrough of the program from the director himself. And so I want to share a little bit of the behind the scenes as we go along. And one of the first things I want to share with you that was more or less behind the scenes, it's not necessarily something that we communicate in the taglines or anything, is how the program was built, right? Why it was built. And I think those questions are important to answer in a session like this, because you need to know what you're stepping into, and really understanding its history. And I won't go into the full history of the program or the MBA in general at UofL. Happy to talk about that if anybody's interested. It is kind of a fascinating history of its own. But the online MBA program specifically was developed beginning around 5 years ago, actually a little over close to six now, that we started the development of this program. And if you're doing your math in your head, you know that that was before the pandemic. Why do I say that? Well, when you look at the market right now, you look at some of the online MBA programs that are out there, a lot of them were either built in response to the pandemic or were also accelerated by the pandemic. Pandemic was certainly not something that we had planned, of course. I think 99.9% of the world hadn't planned for that. But we did want to build a program that was designed for individuals who needed two things. Number one, they needed the flexibility and convenience of online learning. And we knew that we were seeing a growing interest in that area. A lot of our students, a lot of our alumni, a lot of our community partners were saying, the time of going to the campus building from 6 to 9:30, 4 nights a week, which is what a lot of seated MBA programs consist of in many cases. Those times were drawing to an end for many professionals, right? Not saying that there isn't a market still for that, not saying that there aren't still professionals who prefer that. There are, and we have seated programs, but our online MBA program was designed because we wanted that flexibility. We wanted to be able to address that particular audience who for many years wanted to be part of UofL, who wanted to learn at a graduate level from our business programs, but never had the opportunity to do so. And so we wanted to offer that. But at the same time, a lot of times people hear online and they think, I don't know. Is that the same quality, right? Is that the same degree? Somebody had a seated MBA and an online MBA. Are those going to be the same? Are you going to learn the same? Are you going to be able to do the same things? Are you going to be able to have the same experiences? And so one of the things that we committed to, and I say we, at the time I was brand new to U of L. I was just a faculty member there for the first few years. And this was one of the first committees I was asked to be a part of. So the Online MBA Curriculum Committee. And I remember very vividly the conversation saying, we are not going to run and design an MBA program that doesn't meet our standards for an MBA, right? It was a dozen plus faculty member deliberating in a room. Okay, trust me, you don't want you didn't miss a whole lot there. That's kind of a snooze fest when you think about faculty just debating about things. But that one was really important, right? We're not going to sacrifice quality. We're not going to compromise who we are, the types of programs we offer. We want to offer U of L programs that are AACSB credited in the business school at a highest level possible while still offering that flexibility. That's the history, right? Those are what I would consider to be the pillars of the house, right? The foundations that we built from. So what did we build from those foundations? Well, a couple things. We built an entirely asynchronous program. So when we think about flexibility, if you're not familiar with the terminology in online learning, there's really two tracks, right? Synchronous, which means in real time, what we're doing right now. This is a synchronous information session, or asynchronous, right? Something that can be done entirely on your own time. And so our program's entirely asynchronous. Now, you may be thinking, and I'm sure and I hope that it raises some questions. Well, what does that look like, right? What does that look like from a classroom perspective? What does that look like from a faculty perspective? What about my interactions with my peers? All these things. What kind of support services do I have? Do I have access to career resources? Trust me, we're going to get into all that. But the short answer to all those things are yes. And we still found a way to make sure that those are at the same quality, right? Remember those two pillars. So the way that it works on a more day-to-day or week-to-week basis, we actually only offer, at least throughout the core of the program, which is 4 of your 5 semesters, roughly 16 of your 20 months. Through the core of the program, you take one course at a time. Okay, so one course at a time allows you to focus on that given subject. In a case like we heard earlier, if you're somebody who's an accounting or finance background, you may not need that undivided focus in accounting or finance because you probably have a pretty good familiarity with the concepts, but you may need that in a concept or a content that's completely foreign to you, and vice versa. Those who are not in those fields may need that time. And so we intentionally build out our programming so that you can maximize and focus and prioritize the quality of your learning experience by taking one course at a time with the peers that you start the program with. And yes, I am going to talk about that in a little bit in just a moment. It's such a big part of what we do and who we are. Similarly, one of the things that we agreed to as part of this quality conversation was that we were not going to outsource the learning, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of online programs will slap the brand or the name of an institution on an online program, but you'll never actually interact with faculty who are part of that institution on a full-time basis. Okay, and I know that from experience. What I will tell you is that is not the case for the University of Louisville, and it's not the case for our online MBA program. We have all full-time faculty who develop and design our classes and continuously oversee them from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. You get to know all the same faculty that individuals who took a seated program will get to know. You get to work with those individuals. You get to ask them questions. You get to go through the materials that they developed and they designed to make sure that you're learning at the highest level. And so that's something that's really important. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this instructional teams that you see referenced there if you're looking at my bullet points in just a moment, because that's another part of our program that's really unique and interesting, but I'm going to save that for just a moment. One of the other things we get a lot, especially from individuals who've been out of the education environment for a while, is, hey, I haven't taken online classes before, or I'm not the best with technology. I get that comment a lot. I assure you, that is not a concern of ours in the online MBA program. And why I can assure you of that is 2 reasons. Number one, we design these programs and design these classes to be incredibly user-friendly, meaning you don't have to go through 1,000 steps to be able to locate things and find things and access things. we make it intuitive for you to use. The second thing is, even if you do struggle, and sometimes all of us do in some way or another, we have support staff and we have individuals like myself who are standing by ready to help you in any way that we can. Okay. And so we are assured of that will not be a concern if you are deliberating an online program versus a seated one. Two other things I want to mention here very briefly, and then I want to show you a couple of pictures and talk about a couple of the people involved in the program. One of the things that excites me most and that I'm most proud of about our online MBA program is the built-in international trip. Some of you may have seen this on our website or heard about it from an alumni, but it's something that I think is truly, truly, truly. This is going to sound cliche, and I promise I will limit the numbers of cliches I use tonight. But this is truly a life-changing event in my mind. Okay. And when I say that, it's not because you can't travel internationally on your own. You can, and I hope that you do, right? There's a whole big world out there. Go see it, right? But the way that our international trip is built into the program, the learning that occurs on these trips, and the people that you go on these trips with, right? Sometimes these are people that you form lasting friendships, colleagues, connections with for the remainder of your career, right? Just because of one trip. That's how profound it can be. Then, not to mention just the people you're traveling with, you also get to experience behind the scenes access. You get connections to business leaders on an international level that, in my opinion, is almost impossible to come by unless you know some of these people yourself, right? And it's all planned out for you. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but it's one of the best things, in my opinion, about our program. The question always comes up at least once: is it required? The short answer is no. We do have a non-travel option, but my always, and I think it's going to be my follow-up until the day I die, is don't you want to? Because if it's built into the program, we'll talk about a little bit more about the expenses part of it, but a lot of that is taken care of as well. It truly, truly, truly is something that I think you should strongly consider if you are starting this program or on the fence of this program. Actually, maybe I have a special surprise for you tonight. We'll see about that in a few slides. I just saw confirmation of where we're traveling this coming year. And so we'll have to look that up and see if I can find that again. But 6 locations that we're going to this year that you'll have to choose from if you begin in the fall of 23. So yeah, stay tuned on that. Normally I can't commit to any locations, but this year they gave me a green light and I'm kind of giddy about it. So, all right, let's talk about the last point there and then we'll move on. The elective opportunities. We're going to get into this in just a moment, but MBA programs in general are, best word for this, they can be somewhat rigid in their requirements. Our accreditation bodies require us to offer certain courses. You can't offer an MBA degree without having some of the things we've already mentioned, right? Finance, accounting, management, marketing, economics, operations, supply chain, global business. We offer all the ones that are required of business schools to offer, okay? But what we do offer in addition to that are the elective opportunities that allow you to specialize and kind of focus your degree in a very unique way. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, including as recently as these last few weeks. You all are the very first people that I get to say this to officially in an information session. So this is truly, truly, truly unique, including our newest graduate certificate that just got approved in recent weeks. And I will mention what that is here in just a few moments. It's called a tease, right? Keeps you engaged, keeps you hopefully wanting to know more. All right, let's talk a little bit about the people that are involved in this program. Because in my opinion, the program, the foundations, the structure, the core, the curriculum, all that's important. I'll give you a little bit more detail there in just a moment. But who are you doing it with? Who are you learning with? Who are you going through the program with? Because in my opinion, it's one of the more under talked about things in graduate admissions, graduate recruiting. We think about how we select these graduate programs. It's not just about what you're learning, it's who you're learning with, right? Because I think that's a really important part. Now, speaking from experience there, the people I went to grad school with are still my colleagues to this day, collaborate with them in a variety of ways. I work with them in different capacities. I'm in their weddings. They're in my, I mean, it's just stuff like that are so hard to quantify, right? I'm not going to make any promises to you that you're going to find your best friend in this program, but I can tell you that you have some great people involved in this program, both from the student side and the faculty side, and that you'll have opportunities to connect with them in really meaningful ways. And so when I mention the start dates of our programs, which I mentioned it a couple times tonight already, fall 23 is our next start date coming up here in just a few short weeks. The enrollment cycle is winding down. So if you are on the fence, it's time to decide whether or not you're in or you're out. And it's up to you, of course, to do that. But fall 23 is starting very, very soon. That cohort, which is the terminology we use for all students who start in fall 23, will become, I believe at this point, our seventh or eighth cohort who have gone through the program. And what that does, the relationships that you form, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. You become part of a team, you work together on assignments, you're interacting with each other throughout a period of a month or a year and a half to 2 years. I mean, it really is a transformative experience when it comes to relationship building. In our team, one of the things that we specialize in is community building, right? And so we develop systems and opportunities and structures and structures, including a networking event your very first week, where you still get to interact with these people, right? Who else is on the other side of these computers, right? Who else are out there that's doing what I'm doing? That's something that's really important to us. And it's something that we want all of our students at UofL to be able to experience. If you're familiar with the institution, if you're familiar with the university, we have our cardinal principles. I think most universities have some version of these, right, that align with their institution, their mission. But I'm really proud of ours, particularly the C in cardinal, right, which is community of care. And we try to live by that. We try to really implement that. We try to demonstrate that in a variety of ways. And that's how you see these teams and these cohorts form together. When you think about who the actual person or persons are that enroll in this program, it's really hard to answer that question for you. And I'm proud of that. I'm glad that it's hard to answer for you because we are an incredibly diverse program, and it's something that I think speaks to some of those pillars that we mentioned earlier. That our students were always diverse. It's just that the flexibility or the lack thereof for many years disadvantaged many who were unable to go on and earn their graduate degrees with us. But I mean diversity in multiple ways, right? I mean diversity in ethnicity and race. I mean diversity in age. I mean diversity in gender. I mean diversity in professions. I mean diversity in industries and demographics and geography. It's a truly diverse program, and there's mountains of data I can share with you that really reiterates this. But some of the things that just to keep in mind, we get professionals from all spectrums, right? In terms of I just started my career to I'm winding down to retirement. Truly, I've had two or three individuals in the last year who were within the last few years, admittedly, their own admission, I want to retire in the next couple years. Well, me, not in that stage of my life yet, asking, well, why are you getting an MBA? And they have their reasons, right? Well, it's something I've always wanted to do, or something I wanted to, have a post-career plan where I want to leverage. When you don't ask those questions, or when you're in positions where you're not able to engage somebody in that stage of their life, you never would imagine or never would know, right? But we see that the diversity of this program is truly becoming part of our strength, and we're trying to lean into that strength as much as possible as we build these communities of people. So I'm not going to read through these quotes for you, but here are three individuals that I feel captured in their own words what we were trying to do when we built these cohorts, when we built these communities in our program. So again, I'm not going to read them out loud. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. But these are their words. They speak directly, unsolicitedly, in terms of what we asked them to speak about the cohort piece, the relationship piece, right? These are students who specifically cited this as being part of what they benefited most from in the MBA program. And I let their words speak for themselves. Again, I'd love to give you more time to read that, but for the sake of time tonight, I'm going to keep us moving forward. If you'd like me to scroll back there later on, I'm happy to do that. But Melanie, Michael, and Raymond, that you see there listed in order, I appreciate their contributions, not just to this slide and to this session, but to the program as a whole, as they were great students and even better alumni at this point. All right, so I mentioned diversity and I mentioned geography, and certainly you see on this map This was taken almost 3 years ago now. I really need to update my map. In part, I've had just more and more stuff piled on my plate, so I haven't had a chance to update this visual, but I need to because, as I said, I'm nearing my goal. At least I'm closer than I was when this photo was taken. But we can see here we have students in all areas, and I forget the individual who asked earlier about Texas, but at least as of a few years ago, we had some students in Dallas, Houston area, Austin, it looks like. And I think since then we've had some students from San Antonio, and I want to say one from Corpus Christi as well down in that area. So certainly, again, we have some familiarity with students enrolled from multiple states or different states, and even students who are participating in the program from out of the country, as Safoni mentioned earlier. Do you want to mention just a quick note on the side here? You see the different industries and employers represented. I share this with you because one of the things I'm most proud of about just working in MBA programs in general for the last several years is that there's not an ideal MBA candidate in my mind. Right? What I mean by that is that the skills and the insights that are part of this program and part of any MBA program really are designed to advance businesses in a multitude of ways, so much so that it's not just made for those in finance, right? It's not just made for those in marketing or management or anything like that. We see students coming to us from all types of professional backgrounds. And for me personally, as the program director, it keeps my job really interesting, but it also keeps my job really fun. If everybody thought the same way, talked the same way, acted the same way, I'm gonna be quite honest, that would be incredibly boring after a while. And it would also really limit how we grow, right, as humans, how we share ideas, how we challenge each other with different perspectives. And I'm really proud of that. As you can see, it's something that I hope will be forever the third pillar of our online MBA program. That we didn't necessarily know would emerge as quickly as it emerged in the program's history, but we're certainly very proud that it did. And so again, just more evidence in that light. All right, let me pause here for a second. I'm going to talk about our faculty. As a member of that faculty, I'm also very proud to be associated with so many wonderful people who you'll meet throughout your time in the program. But I want to pause for just a second. I need to stop sharing my screen, first of all, because I can't see who all's still listening, and I hope I haven't scared everybody away. Good. Most of you seem to still be here. Any questions that have emerged since the start of this or since some of the time that we began sharing information? Happy to take a look at those. And Safoni, feel free if I miss or if something came in while I was talking to share those as well.
There was one question Aaron had asked about the dates for the international trips for next summer, and I was able to provide like a projected date.
Perfect. No, I appreciate that. And I'll have to look up here in just a moment those locations and I'll see if I can find them. I know it was told to me earlier in the week. I don't know if I have them in email, but I'll look. But I do know those locations have been finalized earlier than usual. Usually we don't communicate them until close to December to the admitted students who've already started the program. But for this coming cohort, you'll learn about them whether it be tonight or certainly during your orientation sessions. But we've got, I believe, 6 different destinations selected already. So I'll try to pull that out here in just a moment. All right. Well, not seeing any other questions or hearing any others. Again, if you have any, feel free at any point tonight to continue dropping those. I'll jump back into sharing just a few more points, and then I'll save some time at the end for an open forum for those who are interested in just kind of unmuting and weighing in on things. But let's talk a little bit about the faculty. I mentioned this at the beginning of our time together this evening, and I said, you're going to have the same access that a seasoned MBA student would at UofL. And I think that's really important because if you know what you're looking for, and if you're digging hard enough into MBA programs, particularly online MBA programs, look deep because some of them you very much will be outsourced in terms of who you're learning from. And what I mean by that, and it's not always bad, and I'm not trying to point fingers at institutions. What I'm saying is there are individuals who are not always you're not necessarily getting what you sign up for in terms of, I want to learn from the University of Louisville. And I want to learn from the University of Louisville faculty members, particularly in the business school. You want that so that you can be able to not only leverage what they know, but leverage who they know, and also being able to leverage your relationship with them. I can't tell you how many times students just, we stumble across them, whether it be in Louisville or in airports. If you ever see me in an airport, I'm typically wearing a UofL MBA shirt, and it's mostly just a beacon, right? Is all it is. Because we have MBAs all over the place, we have graduates all over the place, and they're some of the very best networks and community members that you can know. And so you will be a part of that, right? Is my short version of saying that is you will be a part of this community, and you're going to learn from the same faculty member that alumni have learned from for years and years and years now. Now, at the same time, here's what I want to share with you, because I think this is a really important part of our program. It's something that doesn't get marketed or communicated, I think, all the time the way that I want it to, is what these section leaders, who is what you see on the screen here, what this instructional teams model really does for you, our students. So in this case, I'm giving you an example here. So this is financial accounting. MBA 628, taught by Dr. Julie Wong, who is one of the very best and brightest minds in financial accounting that you're ever going to come across, right? A tenured professor in the accounting department, somebody who knows more about accounting personally than I want to know, but she knows more about accounting, I think, than 99.9% of the population will know. Right. So this is the person you want to learn from, right? If you want to learn accounting, you want to really understand the language at a high level, you want to be able to work with accountants, or you want to be able to be in this field, this is a person you want to know. This course, Financial Accounting, built and developed and overseen by Dr. Wong for the entirety of your time in the program. Okay, so you're taking that course. Remember, you're taking one course at a time, taking it for 5 weeks at a time. For those 5 weeks, you're working with Dr. Wong. You're working with her to really understand the concepts, right? What it is that makes up financial accounting. But at the same time, our cohorts, one thing I haven't mentioned, and one of the things that's to our advantage, but also causes some logistical challenges that fall on me ultimately to manage. But one of the challenges that we have is our program has grown, right? It's grown because in recent years, we've just seen a significant uptick in interest. And so you'll have what we consider sections within the program. And so within these sections, we cap enrollments at roughly 24 to 25 students in each section. Well, why does that matter? Well, for each section, we have a designated leader. Okay. Who are these leaders, you may be asking? These are all professionals working in the field that the course is assigned to. Okay. So if you're saying, okay, this is a financial accounting course, these three individuals have worked in accounting in their industry, in their field, in their organization, and will work with you on a day-to-day basis, answering your questions in real time as quickly as they can, as promptly as they can, in collaboration with Dr. Wong. So you're not only getting that insight from the academic perspective and learning from the very best who research this on a daily basis, you're also learning from a practical level and getting day-to-day feedback. You're getting guidance on assignments. You're getting feedback on the work that you submit from industry practicing professionals. Okay. And so when I say it's not just what you're learning, but who you're learning from or who you're learning with, this is what I mean. These are the questions that you got to start looking at when you're thinking about an MBA program, because this is what makes good from great, right? This is what separates your everyday average MBA program, where you're going to learn the various formulas and the theories and the concepts. You're going to get that from 95% of all MBA programs out there. You'll get those basics, right? What's going to separate the good from the great is who you're learning from, who you're learning with, and who's there to support you as you go through the process. And that's where we certainly have done our investments in the College of Business in recent years. All right, so a little bit more about those section leaders here. As I mentioned, these are not necessarily traditional academics. Some of them have worked in higher education before, and many of them have worked in our programs for several years now. But most of them are working in real time in the industries, some of the employers that you see represented here, but in their respective industries, in their respective fields. So if you, for instance, were taking a marketing class, you're working with real marketing professionals, along with Dr. Richard Germain, who is a tenured marketing professor and former associate dean in the College of Business. You're going to be getting kind of those best of both worlds, in my opinion. And so you get to see, again, some of the employers represented here. This is a very, very small sample of the employers who their section leaders represent, or our section leaders represent on a day-to-day basis. All right, let's talk about the, I don't know if the right word for this. I don't say the fun stuff because I think it's all fun. Let's talk about the courses themselves in a little bit more detail, shall we? And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. You might have one of those blink if you miss it kind of comments. I said 5 semesters. Well, beyond this session and orientation, I don't really reference semesters very often as your program director. I reference the totality of your journey, right? Which is really a 20-month journey. And from the time you start, which for many of you, I know will be this coming fall, fall of 23, August of 23, through the 20 months that it takes to complete the program, which will put you somewhere in the range of May of 25. Okay. You may be saying, that seems kind of long. I assure you, it'll be here before we know it. I'll have a few grayer hairs, and my kids will all be walking at that point. So I'm just going to be chasing them even more. So you'll see me. I won't be as stationary in the videos that I record for you. Uh, but in all reality, these 20 months go by pretty quickly. And this road that we've depicted here, which is really just for informational purposes, we don't actually use this graphic on a regular basis, but the courses are accurate. This road really depicts how quickly it's going to go, right? So first semester, again, 5-week courses. If you think about traditional academic semesters that most of us are accustomed to because of our undergraduate experiences, that's going to be roughly 15 to 16 weeks. Wouldn't you know it, that just coincides with 3 full-time core classes in the online MBA program, okay? And so you take those 3 courses back to back to back. Let me give you a quick preview of that. Fall 23, you're going to start your first semester, Dr. Audrey Klein, Applied Microeconomics for Business. You're going to start that in August. That course is going to run you 5 weeks. I think it's going to push you to the last week of September. Then you're going to take yours truly, my course, Strategic Managerial Communication. Right? It's a combination of both management, leadership, and communication course that really ties into the personal side of business and leading people, understanding interpersonal dynamics and organizational structures and how those two mix together to create effective or ineffective leaders, depending on the type of organization. The last course that you'll take, so that one will run you last week of September, I think to Halloween, if I'm not mistaken, around that ballpark. You'll get a whole course schedule with your dates and everything listed once you get started. After that, Halloween ends 1st of November. You take Introduction to Statistics and Data Analytics. I'm going to talk about the diversity of these courses in just one moment. You'll take that all the way through the first week of December, and you get yourself a nice winter break. All right, and you'll work that, or you'll have that break up until January. Your second semester starts, and then you go on down the list here. Okay, I'm not going to read all the courses here for you, but I will highlight a few additional things. Number one, you notice the diversity in those courses in the first semester. Gives you a nice taste of the diversity of the program, right? So you get applied microeconomics, which I don't want to say is theoretical because it is theory driven. Dr. Klein's a very theory driven professor, faculty member, researcher. So you get a lot of microeconomic theories and really just how business functions in a lot of ways is introduced in that first course. My course, you're going to get a lot of hands-on tools, skills, resources, templates, all kinds of things like that. Statistics, you're going to get a lot of that quantitative background, right? I think that's a little bit of a sampling of what you get throughout the entirety of the program. First semester, welcome to grad school, right? Welcome to MBA life. Then you go on through the program, and those semesters are structured strategically. So, for instance, your second semester is your quantitatively heavy courses, accounting and finance, both in those courses. I know we got at least one student on tonight who will likely go through that semester, I hope at a very high level and a very successful level. But I hope that, of course, for all of our students as well. And then on down the list we go. A couple things to mention here. I know Symphony had mentioned this in the chat. Our international trip occurs in the 3rd semester for at least our fall cohorts. And so that's located up here at the Global Learning, Global Business. There's two courses there. One of them, the global learning, is actually assigned for the international trip. And there is a non-travel option there as well. Again, that if you're unable to participate, you'll have the ability to still complete the program, of course. But I can tell you, as a father of three kids who just went to Dubai and Abu Dhabi myself last year, it is possible. Okay, I promise you it's possible. A lot of coordination required for you parents or anybody balancing responsibilities of any kind outside of the home. It's possible. We'll give you the dates as early as we can possibly give them to you, and you work to address anything that you have outside of the classroom or the workplace, and then join us for what equates to roughly 10 days in a foreign country, actually multiple foreign countries, as we get behind the scenes looks at so many different businesses and get to interact and talk to so many business leaders. So again, highly endorse that. In fact, it's one of my next slides that I'll talk about just a little bit more in detail. So this year, and these locations at the bottom are not the updated list. So please excuse me. I haven't had a chance because I've been really talking for the last 30 minutes, but I haven't had a chance to pull that list back up. But I do know that we're going to some really exciting places, including Dubai. Again, coming up this year, I believe Dubai and India are going to be paired together on the same trip. And that's more or less how all of our trips work. We actually will go to two separate countries and allow you to kind of see, compare, and contrast those countries, those experiences, not just with themselves, but with the United States, and how what business looks like in one setting may be very different than it does in another. I know this year, I believe we're going to Argentina. I believe we're going to Chile. I believe we're going to want to say Prague. This is all from memory, and I've had a lot of conversations this week already, so please excuse me. But those locations are being finalized, meaning the trips are being booked already, hotels are being held for you. I mean, these are all things that are happening in real time right now, which is really, really exciting. It's such an important part, in my opinion, of the student experience of being an MBA UofL student, whether seated or online. You're going to come across an MBA grad 10 years from now and he or she's going to ask you, "Oh, where did you go on the international trip?" And I assure you, you don't want to say, "I did the non-travel option." Don't do that, right? And here's why. The short version, the other thing that I realize is a true barrier for a lot of folks, and I want to acknowledge it, but also encourage you anyways because of the timeline and the resources and everything else. So this MBA trip, when I say built into the curriculum, you get credit hours for going, right? You do a small paper, I think before and after, you do an analysis. It's pretty short. The trip itself is the majority of the work, but you get credit hours for doing it. But it's also built in from a financial point of view. Okay. And so when you go, you actually get to participate relatively at a low cost in terms of additional expenses on top of your tuition. So what I mean by that is the only major expense that you are responsible for as a traveling student is your airfare. And don't get me wrong, international airfare right now is kind of ridiculous. So it's still an expense. I'm not trying to dismiss that. But when you think about all the other things that you do on an international trip, particularly lodging, hotels, and things, can get incredibly expensive, all covered by the College of Business. Okay? All part of the program itself. And then a lot of the meals are included. There are some meals and some times where you can escape and do your own thing. And so you'll get those flexibility and that option, of course, but it's really, really a great trip and a really great experience. And the itineraries, I tell you, when you're gone for 10 days, you almost need a vacation afterwards because it's not just you're laying on a beach for 10 days, right? It's not that kind of trip. It is, you're action packed, right? You're learning a lot, you're seeing a lot, you're interacting with a lot of people. So do check that out. If you have any questions, again, drop those in the chat. We'll try to answer as many of them as we can. That said, I'm cognizant of the time, and I promise you I am nearing my completion here, and I'll make sure to keep a few minutes available for us at the end of our time tonight. But I do want to mention this, and that is our electives and our certificates. I'm kind of bundling them together here for a moment. I'll kind of unpack them separately just momentarily. But the majority of any MBA program is going to be standardized. What I mean by that is that, again, those core classes. Now, everybody has their own flavor to them, their own, kind of versions of them and different ways of titling them, all that. But finance, accounting, management, marketing, all those courses are going to be part of an MBA. Electives are really where you can see specialities. It's where you can see these different opportunities emerge that are truly differentiating from other MBA programs. And I would put our electives up there next to anybody who's in the country. I really mean that. And there's two reasons why. Number one, we have a very robust portfolio of elective opportunities available to all of our online graduate students. And so courses that are truly timely and relevant, not courses that were taught in the 90s, right, which is what you'll see in some MBA programs. But for instance, we're developing a course right now on artificial intelligence. We've offered an artificial intelligence elective for many years, but given some of the changes recently in ChatGPT and some of the other tools that are emerging as rapidly as they are emerging and as quickly as they are being adopted, we're in real time building curriculum, building electives, building specialties, right? So that people can learn about this, so people can understand it, so people can wrap their head around it, so that they can really, truly advance their career and their degree in a way that's meaningful to them. And so really, really proud of that portfolio. There's roughly 50 plus electives that we offer during our elective cycle, which for you all, those who are starting in the fall 23 cohort, will be your spring semester in your final year, right? So spring 25 will be when you're taking electives, and that entire final semester, that final 16 or so weeks, last several months of your time in the program, will be specializing your degree in those areas. The other thing that's very unique about our program is that we are aligned and connected with our online graduate certificates. And I got to tell you, folks, you're not going to find a portfolio like this anywhere else in the country. I've looked. Trust me, I really have. It's not a sales pitch. It's not me trying to sell you something. It's just truly, this is a unique set of offerings that you don't find anywhere in the country. And when you think about these offerings, you may not have an interest in some of these certain areas, and that's fine, right? You obviously have choice. That's what electives imply. But if you are for all at all interested in what makes Louisville Louisville, it's right here. Right. It's right here in these graduate certificates that are featured on the screen. So franchise management, we have one of the very best franchising programs, truly a unique offering. I could talk for days about this program. Dr. Kathy Gosser, an incredibly good friend of mine, but an even better colleague, has done some remarkable work. Former Yum Brands executive, runs our franchising center for or Yum Center for Franchising Excellence as part of the College of Business. It's connected to the certificate, a once in a lifetime opportunity. Horse racing industry, you may be thinking, well, does that just cover the Kentucky Derby and that's it? Absolutely not. That would be my own ignorance shining through the first few years that I was in Louisville. But the horse racing industry is a significantly, significantly large industry that's growing year over year, and that's impacting not just states like Kentucky, but really all over the world. That industry in particular continues to have a major economic impact. And so our students who go through that are doing some remarkable things. A distilled spirit certificate, it's the bourbon capital of the world, Louisville, Kentucky. But this certificate is not about making the bourbon. It's not about making distilled spirits. It's about managing that industry, working in that industry. For anybody who is of interest at all, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of regulations, and I only know the surface of them, but there's a lot of regulations, a lot of steps and hurdles and things in that industry. We teach about all of them and how to navigate it. Managerial analytics, our most popular graduate certificate, given the prevalency of data and how common that has become. And then also family business certificate. Most people don't know, but Louisville actually ranks among the top in the country for family businesses per capita in the United States. And we have some of the very best professionals working in family businesses and advising family businesses in the country, in my opinion, who are part of that certificate. So those are the 5 existing ones. And man, I made it with just a nick of time here. I'm incredibly excited, very, very much so. For almost a year and a half, I've had to skirt around this because we're going through certification processes and things that are that limit what I can communicate and what I cannot. But as of recently, within the last few weeks, we have officially been certified to offer, starting in January of 2024, which would be available to all of you then in the following year, the Business of Healthcare certificate. And I can't tell you enough, folks, this certificate, in my opinion, is revolutionary. It's game changing, and I mean that because if you know anything about the healthcare field, and some of you may know a lot, some of you may know a little, I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Okay, so I'm not pretending to be a healthcare expert myself, but if you know anything about the healthcare field, you know it's got a host of challenges facing it right now. Okay, from pricing and from all types of policy and regulations, but also from something I don't want to say it's simple because it's not. At least the answers are not simple. To burnout. I know in the state of Kentucky, I think the state of Kentucky, I was told today, lost 500 physicians over the last few years due to burnout. Right, that they're just leaving. They're leaving the field altogether, leaving the state, and so it's a major issue, right? It's a major challenge. And when all of us eventually get sick or have something that requires medical attention, we're going to want the very best around us, right? We're going to want the best working for us and with us to protect our health care. And so I'm really, really proud to offer this certificate as part of our online MBA program, as part of the College of Business. We're very much in the debt of so many people who contributed to that. I won't list them all tonight, but just know that this has been in the making for about 3+ years now, and it's official. We're able to offer it now. It goes through the entire business side of healthcare, and not just like, hey, here's some information about it. Here's the roots of the issues, right? Here's the depths of the problems and the challenges, and here's some potential ways that we can solve them. And I've looked through those courses. I've gone through them all myself. I've seen the content, and I've asked the questions myself. And I can tell you, if you're at all interested in healthcare, whether it be now or in the future, that's a certificate that you're going to want to strongly consider as part of the program. So, new program, not even on the slide yet, but it is official, and we're excited to offer it to all of our incoming online MBA students. All right, I'm going to pause there again, just because my throat is hurting now, because I've been talking for so long. It's both a blessing and a curse. My wife doesn't understand how it's part of my profession that I do this for so long. But let's see any questions that you may have, and I'm just going to start with the last one that I saw, and then I'll work my way back up. And Symphony, please help me if I missed any. Rachel, I believe, had mentioned, would the seated electives offered only be in the semester 5? Yeah, and I didn't even mention that, Rachel. So thank you for sharing or asking that question. During our elective status, you don't see this on the website. This is another behind the scenes piece. I refer to our professional MBA, which is essentially the online MBA, but in a seated capacity. Exact same program in terms of learning outcomes, courses, generally in terms of structure, minor differences in terms of schedule. I refer to them as our sister program. And what I mean by that is that it's very compatible, very comparable in a variety of ways, including the electives that we offer. So during that 5th and final semester, for those who start in the fall cohorts, those students do get to take, seated students get to take online electives, including all those graduate certificates I just mentioned. And you all, as online students, can take any of the seated electives. So if you're local to Louisville and you just wanted to come in and take a course, there are several there available that you're going to be eligible for and that would count towards your graduation. And that is available to you during your 5th and final semester, which is what we consider internally as your elective status or elective eligible semester. So great question, Rachel. Symphony, what else have I missed?
That is it. Perfect. It looks like Aaron is typing something.
Awesome. And Symphony found the trip destination. So thank you very much. Yeah, they're listed here in the chat. Again, for those of you who haven't been monitoring that, please check that out. India and UAE, South Africa, Czech Republic and Germany, Chile and Argentina, Vietnam and Singapore, and Turkey and Greece. Yeah, Dominic,
hey guys.
Welcome.
My chat wasn't working, so
it's all right.
I'm outside. I'm calling from Hawaii, so it's still sunny out here.
You know, I was wondering because it's looking a little darker out my window, and I thought, well, I'd like to be wherever Dominic is. So, well, aloha. I was there actually in February.
Oh, was it?
What island are you on?
I'm on Kauai.
Okay. Was that Oahu?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you have any particular questions, Dominic, that we can answer for you tonight?
I think you might have mentioned it, but I was wondering how big is the class as we go through.
Yeah, it's a great question. So our fall cohorts, it's, again, depending on size, it depends on our demand and how late we'll accept applications, which right now it's a firm deadline, I believe, set at August 1. But we're tracking toward a little over 100 students who will be part of this coming cohort. We break those students, that cohort, into sections. And so for you all, those who start this fall, that's likely to be 4 sections of roughly 25 students apiece.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Are you visiting Hawaii or are you living there?
I live here,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah.
next time I'm there, I'm going to have to stop by. I very much enjoyed my visit in February and hoping to get back there sometime in the next few years.
I spend all my time working, so
Yeah.
I don't get to enjoy much out here.
That's something we had in common. I was at a conference there, and so people thought I was vacationing in Hawaii, which was what I thought I would do. And then I spent the majority of my time at a conference in a hotel. So completely understand. I've seen a couple other questions, comments come in here. So Dominic, thank you for jumping on. It's
Thanks,
great
Zach.
to
Thanks, Sophie.
put a face to the name there. Um, I think I'm gonna read Aaron's here. I'm reading in real time, folks, so apologies for the short delay. It looks like Aaron just saying excited about the healthcare certificate. You and me both, Aaron. Very much excited for that. That's something that's been in the works for a while, and I know Vernon and many others. We've wanted to bring it on line. We've wanted to create it and formalize it. There's just been a lot of hurdles and hoops to jump through, and I'll spare you the details there. But it's official now, and we're excited to offer it to all of our incoming students. Rachel, is there any way to complete the program faster? The website section says that you can complete the program faster if dual status. Yeah, Rachel, we could certainly talk about some dual status options. I know we have some partnerships in place with some other programs on campus that can change a little bit of your timeline through the program. I will tell you our fastest program. So all of our MBA programs are cohort model based, all of them. Seated online, doesn't matter. They're all going to be cohort based. And what that typically means, it's not just the people that you go through with, it's the timing, right? And so that partly addresses your question. But the full-time MBA is our fastest track. It is entirely in person. It is, if I'm not mistaken, 3 to 4 nights a week. I think it varies sometimes. I think sometimes you have it 3 nights a week, sometimes you have it four. And it is in person, mostly in the College of Business, a couple other buildings on campus. That's going to be your fastest track if you're looking for time. And that's going to be roughly 12 months to complete. And I think they do have a few openings available for this coming fall as well. The online MBA is going to be relatively set at the 20-month window just because it's very hard to accelerate that online. The learning outcomes and things tend to be compromised any quicker than you do that. But also the structure of the program is very hard to be malleable in that way. So we do typically offer 20 months unless you're coming in with, say, one of our certificates already or some of the credit hours earned. There's some opportunities there. So I don't want to say no outright because there are some exceptions at times, including for dual status. But stick around either after this call or connect with myself or somebody like Melanie Higgs in admissions or Stephen Swan in recruiting. We can get you some additional information on that. All right, Safoni, keep me honest. Did I miss anything else?
No.
All right. Well, I am kicking myself just because there was one other thing that I failed to mention. I just ran out of time. I'll say it very, very briefly. And if folks want to know more, you can stick around after. But I do realize we're past our scheduled conclusion time. And that was our cardinal choice assignment. It's something that I mentioned the standardization of the curriculum, and I said how much those courses have to be taught to be accredited MBA programs. And that's true. All that's very much true. You can look all that stuff up. But one of the things that we've been able to do successfully this last year and a half is we've built an initiative that I think is going to be transformative. It's still pretty new. It just launched this past fall, but it's called the Cardinal Choice. And the short version is this: we have built opportunity within each of those standard courses that are offered or required so that you can still customize your degree around areas of your interest. And what I mean by that is when you start the program, you'll have a choice to whether you want to focus your individual assignments, a portion, I should say, of your individual assignments toward that of your industry of interest, and you can select the industry based on your current and or future career plan, that of your selected issue. So something that you're addressing or trying to address in a workplace setting or in a community setting, say for instance turnover, and you're trying to address that in your workplace and you want to focus on an issue, you'll have that opportunity to do so through a select series of assignments or your own career. And so not just thinking about it from a linear point of view, which so many of us do. We think, okay, I'll be here at this point, here at this point, here at that point. What we really see in today's age is that careers tend to snake and turn in various ways. And so our assignments, part of our assignments in the online MBA program can be tailored to help you advance your own career and create plans so that you're able to do that more strategically and intentionally. So again, I ran out of time there. I had a few additional slides. I'm not going to pull them back up now. There are some videos and some resources online about that particular thing. So, Phony, if you find it by chance, that cardinal choice video that's, I think, available on some of our sites. I forget which one. Maybe you can drop that in there, but we'll certainly provide you with much more information as you get started in the program on that, and including during your orientations and a lot of other things. So did want to acknowledge that, although we certainly ran out of time, and wanted to conclude very, very briefly with a moment of thanks. You all listened to me talk for a very long time, and I know that because I can gauge it by the strain in my throat. It's like, all right, you've been talking too long. You need to shut up for a while. But you listened to me for a long time. I hope it was worthwhile. I hope it was information that you wanted or needed to finalize either your decision to start the program or to prepare you for the beginnings of the program that you've just been admitted to. Either way, know that I'm very excited to work, the possibility of working with each and every one of you. And we, the College of Business and the faculty of the MBA program, hope to have the opportunity to collaborate with you very, very soon. So, Brandy, thank you for posting that and sharing that. Thank you all for taking the time tonight to join me. Thank you to Safoni, to Brandy, to everybody who contributed to helping this session be possible. And if you have any questions whatsoever, Safoni, if you would do me one last favor, put my email in the chat, please. It's available in a variety of places, but for convenience sake, I'll put it right there for you all tonight. This conversation does not have to end here now. It can continue on as long as you need it to answer any additional questions we did not get a chance to address tonight, using the email that Safoni is posting in the chat. So again, thank you all for the time. Eager to start working with all of you here very soon. And you'll hear it from me very often, but maybe for the first time, you'll hear me conclude my call with Go Cards. So go Cards and take care. Have a great night.